When did you start to kind of realize that you were really good at football?
After my junior year, I knew, I said, okay, I'm pretty good. But I only thought that in terms of a high school football player having the opportunity to go to college. I didn't even think that I was good enough to play in the NFL. That was not even a thought at all. The thought was, okay, maybe if I continue, if I play great my senior year, I'll go to one of the best colleges, because I was starting to get mail from colleges. Mm-hmm. You know, good junior year, we're going to be watching you, that kind of thing. Not, we want you to come to our school. It was, you know, you're on our radar screen, so to speak.
Notre Dame head coach Lou Holtz stops by your parents' house to visit you. What do you remember from that?
I decided between Michigan and Notre Dame, and it started, and it was all because of this trip when Coach Holtz came in to Detroit and visited. And, you know, he was great with my parents, great with me. And, you know, he talked about, you know, what it was like at Notre Dame and the offense, how successful I would be in this offense and all that. And, you know, I heard all of that, but I had taken a trip to Notre Dame, and Rodney Culver, who was the running back who was there, who was from Detroit, who has since passed away, and he had told me, get the ability to tape your shoes, you know, get it in the deal, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So my whole mind was thinking,
tape your shoes.
Get coach to allow you to tape your shoes, right? Because that was like a big deal. Like when I was in high school, we taped our shoes and everything. We called it spat. We would spat our shoes. And so our colors were blue and gray and blue and white. So I had blue shoes, and I would tape them all white, and I would have the blue tips of the shoe showing, you know? And so that was kind of like the cool thing to do, because they were doing it in college. And so I was like, it was the moment of truth came, and I was like, and coach was like, okay, well, you know, he went through his spiel and was talking to my mom and dad and everybody, and then he came to me and says, well, Jerome, what are you thinking? You know, I was like, this is my moment, you know. I said, well, coach, if I could, I would love to come there, you know, if I could tape my shoes. He's like, what? And so he like, huh? He like watched some more of the highlight tape, and he's like,
What'd your parents say?
Like, they were like,
well,
they didn't know what it was. They're like, you know, they thought it was stupid. Like,
right.
What are you at? And so, as it turns out, it was the best thing I could have ever done, because when I got there, I'll never forget, I get there, one of my first practices, everybody's got tape on the shoes, all the older players and everything, and he makes everybody take the tape off their shoes. And I'm saying, he lied to me. I don't believe this. I got this in my deal. He lied to me. And so after the practice, he kind of rolled up on his car and says, all right, Jerome, you can put tape on your shoes tomorrow, right? And so it was just kind of like, yeah. So it turned out to be a good call, but at the time, my mom and dad were like, what are you? And so it was a great trip, and the fact that he came to my home made that decision easy for me to then go to Notre Dame.
How well do you recall when he makes you stand up in front of your teammates and pretty publicly and unnecessarily humiliates you, questioning like your trustworthiness and your commitment?
Oh, I remember it, because it was in that moment where I'm so embarrassed. Obviously, he calls me out in front of the entire team, but it humbled me too, because this was the moment where that season, my sophomore season, they were starting to talk about me as being this big deal. They put me on the cover of that year's book, talking about the team. And so I was like, yeah, this is it, right? I have arrived. One of the first practices, he called me out, and he was just like, he couldn't believe that this guy thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, who is this guy? And he said, this guy, he's gonna cost us a national championship. And so everybody's like, what? He's gonna cost us to lose a national championship. So everybody's looking around like, where's this guy? And so that's when it was kind of like, uh-oh. And so I'm doing the same thing now. I'm looking around.
Wondering who he's talking about.
He said, Jerome Bettis, stand up. And I was just like, oh. I was crushed. I was just like, so all eyeballs on me. It's like 120 guys looking at me like, oh, really? You gonna cost us a championship? And I'm like, and so afterwards, he get practice going, and it was just, I'll never forget the hardest practice I ever had. I mean, guys trying to tackle me to the ground, hitting me all over the place. I mean, I'm running as fast as I ever could to try to get away from guys. I mean, it was just one of those practices. And he comes up to me after practice and he says, okay, just wanted to motivate you. And it was just like, what? But that was his way of.
What did you say, or did you say anything?
You
when
can't
you said
say nothing.
Okay.
I mean, right, like, huh?
Right.
So you look at him crazy, like, what are you? But and he drove off, and it was just kind of like, wow. But that was his way of humbling me, and it worked because I knew at that point I got to work my butt off, and that's what I did.